Hello, everyone. Come on into the webinar. My name is Linda Peavy, and I am going to be your hostess this afternoon while we are going to talk about how to write and win grants for your Black-owned business or your Black-led nonprofit. So I am in Ohio, Northeast Ohio to be exact, not too far from Cleveland. So say hello to me, please, as you come into the webinar and give your city and your state a shout out. So let me know who is with me today. Give your city and your state a shout out. I want to know who is in the webinar with me today. Hey, Marcus from Milwaukee. Angie is in the Big D, Detroit, and we've got the ATL represented by Tia. Hey, Woodbridge, Virginia. And of course, we got Chi-Town in the house, Chicago with Corey. Ooh, the South is being represented with Mississippi and Jasmine. Hey, Jennifer with Georgia. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. We've got Melody from Charlotte and beautiful South Carolina with Kiara. Oh, I hope I pronounced that right. And hey, my state, Ohio, is not going to be left behind. Hey, Jazz from Ohio. Oh, we've got Sin City showing up. Christopher in Las Vegas. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining me today. Again, my name is Linda Peavy, and I'm going to be your hostess for this afternoon while we are going to talk about how you secure grants for your Black-owned business or your Black-led nonprofit. So those of you who know me, you know this is going to be a no fluff zone. So we have so much to share with you. So the first thing I'm going to do is to share my screen. And as I always say, come through technology, come through for me. So hopefully this is going to go right as I share my screen. And the first thing you are going to see is my really quick 30-second TV commercial, because it's going to give you just a really good idea about who I am, what I do, why I'm here, and why I will be able to help you. All right. So we're going to get started. And then after you see the really quick TV commercial, we're going to do some housekeeping. And then we are going to be off to the races because we have, so much to cover. All right, let's see. There we are.
Hi, I'm Linda Peavy, owner of LaPav Consulting. My passion is to place your organization on the path to excellence. Are you struggling to communicate your message, reach target audiences, or secure funding? From marketing communications to grant writing, we achieve your goals. We've worked with high-profile clients and have secured $17 million in funding for charter schools and nonprofits. Call today to discuss what your success looks like and how LaPav Consulting can help.
All right, so that's just a little bit more about me. I want to make sure everybody's in the right place. So this is grant writing for Black-owned businesses and Black-led nonprofits. And this is my noon session, right? So I do have a session tonight at 7 o'clock. So I'm going to drop the link into the chat later on, just in case you know anyone, right, who might want to sign up for the 7 o'clock session. But we are off to the races and we are ready to get started. Now, I'm going to go quickly because I have a lot of information to share with you. Don't be upset, okay? Because if those little hands can't write fast enough, everything is being recorded and you are going to get a free replay. I don't charge for my replays, and that word free, you are going to be hearing all afternoon because I love to give out free stuff. So let's get started. Questions, please drop your questions in either the Q&A or the chat, because we're going to do an in-depth Q&A at the end. People who know me know I answer all of the questions. So Don't go anywhere. Plus, I have a bonus for you, so stay until the end. And I'm going to give you a list of grants that you can apply for right now. All right, so let's get started. And be sure, drop those questions into the chat or the Q&A as I move along. All right, a little bit more about me. Yes, they call me the grants queen because I have secured over $17 million in funding and business development for my clients. And I'm in the 15th year of owning my own business, LaPav Consulting. And almost every one of those 15 years, I have spent writing grants, literally creating the request for proposal that you complete. I've been hired to write it. I've been hired to score grants. I also provide grant writing workshops all over the country. And I am a proud alumnus of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program. And I was just admitted into Forbes Black, which is an organization of Black leaders that are affiliated with Forbes magazine. So also, I was a former executive director of a nonprofit. So I want to know who's with me today. Are you a for-profit? Are you a nonprofit? Or what I'm finding is that a lot of for-profits are beginning to start nonprofits, which I think is incredible. So maybe you're both. So drop into the chat. Let me know who's with me. Oh, for-profit, both. Wow. Nonprofit, for-profit, 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 nonprofit, both. A lot of boths. Excellent, excellent. So what you need to know is that whether you are a for-profit or a nonprofit, this webinar is for you. And let me make this clear because I hear this question even all throughout my webinar. Yes, as a for-profit, Black-owned organization, there are millions of dollars in grants for you. Yes, for-profits can get grant funding. Everything has changed, which I will show you in a moment. Now, a little bit more about my journey to getting to the $17 million. I used to be a publishing executive in Pennsylvania. Was there for 10 years, got hurt, had to come back home to Cleveland, literally came home in a wheelchair because I could not stand. It took me 2 years to recuperate. And after those 2 years, I couldn't find a job. It didn't matter that I had over 20 years of marketing experience. At the end of the day, Cleveland, Ohio is not exactly like the publishing mecca of the country. So I started LaPav Consulting. I started my own company and I've never looked back. And it's been 15 years. And guess what? After I started, one of my first roles was to be a contracted executive director of a nonprofit. So I got to the nonprofit and literally, I would say within a week, I was called into the board of directors office. I was told that I had to write a grant to pay for my salary. Yes. Of course, they didn't say this to me while I was being interviewed, but yes, I didn't know anything about grants. And oftentimes, right, we, people who look like us, right, are called in to save the day. And I was expected to write this grant and save the day. So if you know what I'm talking about, whereas we, right, are often called in to save a project or save a program or sometimes save the entire company, just drop into the chat a show you right, okay? Because I know that happened to me on more than one occasions, right? But you know what? I learned how to write grants. And yes, I saved my position and thus I saved the organization, right? Oh, I'm getting some show you rights. I'm getting some show you rights. So you know what I'm talking about, right? You know how we are called in to save the day. All right, so you know what I learned? I learned that there is a connection, right, between getting grant funding and being able to fulfill your mission, to be able to sustain your organization and grow and hire employees. Grants are free money, and that's what we will talk about today. I will share with you what that connection is about and show you how that you also can secure the funds. So what are we going to cover today? Why this class? The 3 keys to funding, grant basics. How do you prepare to write? What do you write? How do you write? If we have time, we'll talk about bid proposals, but we'll also talk about getting notice in a sea of applications. And then we will talk about how do you provide the grant research that will connect you to your perfect funder. And then I'm actually going to give you a list of available funds that you can apply for right now, and then don't go anywhere because I have a bonus. And then we're going to do an in-depth Q&A. Now, why is this class important? We know as Black nonprofits and Black entrepreneurs, we need help with funding, right? And it shouldn't always be about loans. We want grants, we want free grant money, but guess what? Grant writing, it is a skill. There's a difference between someone who writes grants and a professional grant writer. I am a professional grant writer, and our skills can be costly. Someone at my level will charge anywhere between $100 to $200 per hour to write a grant. But guess what? You can learn these skills. You can place your organization in a position to win these grants, because at the end of the day, nobody is going to tell your story better than you. And guess what? Grant writing has completely changed. I'm going to take the fear out of grant writing today, because no longer are you sitting in a corner for months writing a 200-page dissertation in the form of a grant. No, no, no. Everything has changed. Literally, I was on a training session about 3 weeks ago where we were being taught how to write a grant in an hour with artificial intelligence. But just so you'll know, even if you don't have it, you're not spending weeks and weeks and weeks writing grants anymore. It's hours. And a lot of the for-profit grants that I've seen in the last, I would say 2 years, 3 to 4 pages. Last month, Barclays Bank was offering a $25,000 grant to a Black for-profit. They wanted a 500-word essay, right? So don't think 200-page dissertation. Don't think I've got to spend months and months and months doing this. You are writing about what you're passionate about, right? So you can do this. You can do this. You don't have to be a professional grant writer, but you do have to know the process in order to write and submit winning grants. And I'm going to show you the process today. So we're going to learn, what do you write in an application? How do you write those words? And then this is critical. How do you attract the right funder who literally wants to give you money? Believe it or not, there are organizations out here looking for organizations and nonprofits and for-profits like you. So how do you attract them? All right, so 2 different incidents completely changed the landscape of philanthropy and grants. One was COVID-19. When COVID-19 happened, so many small businesses went under. You probably know somebody who lost their job or who had to close their business, or maybe you had to lay off employees or close your organization. Well, foundations took notice, and so did major corporations. And they said, we have to do something about this, because at the end of the day, small businesses are the backbone of the US economy. And what did they do? They utilized what they had in their hands, right? And that was cash. And they started to create these grants for for-profit organizations as well as nonprofits. When you thought about the word grant, what did you think about? A nonprofit. No more. Now it's for nonprofits and for-profit organizations. That is why there's so much money right now for for-profits. Now, there are still some COVID-19 grants around. So if you run into one, you can say and really talk about how COVID-19 affected you. Did you have to close? Did you have to lay off workers? But we will talk about much more than just the COVID-19 grants. The other incident was the George Floyd incident. So when George Floyd was murdered, once again, foundation leaders and major corporation leaders saw what everyone else saw and said, we have to do something about this, right? We have to somehow address racial injustice in this country. And what did they do? They used, once again, what was plentiful, cash, money. And so they started to create grant funds, right? Free money, grants for minority-owned organizations, Black-owned organizations. You might have heard this term DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. A lot of money is going to that area. But even if you have any type of socially conscious cause that you are working on behalf of, such as maybe the drug opioid crisis or homelessness, right? There is more money right now available to you as a Black-owned business or a Black-led nonprofit than I have seen in the past 15 years because of COVID-19 and because of the George Floyd incident. So you are in a fantastic position to get some of this money. Now, we're going on to grant basics. What do you need to know? Grants are not paid back. Now, for the next minute, I'm only talking to the nonprofits. You need your 501c3. Foundations are going to require the 501c3 in order to give you grant funding. What is it? That's your tax exempt charitable organization designation by the Internal Revenue Service. Now, you need to have your own 501c3. I would ask you to avoid fiscal agents if at all possible. What is a fiscal agent? Well, that is a nonprofit that already has their 501c3. And if you are lucky enough to get a grant without one, the money is going to go to the fiscal agent, the grant money, and then it's their responsibility to give that grant money to you, which is exactly why foundations would prefer not to deal with a fiscal agent. Because if they are giving you money based on your program, they don't want it to go through a third party. They don't want it to go through other hands, right? So get your own 501c3. The good news is, whereas it was taking the IRS 6 to 9 months to process those applications, is now taking 6 to 8 weeks to process the 501c3 application. So please, definitely get your own 501c3. Now, I want everybody to pay close attention to this slide here, because people assumed that we were in a pandemic, nobody was giving, there was no money, but guess what? When the country faces a calamity, giving actually increases. So look at this number. And this is just from foundation giving, right? This doesn't even include the corporate giving. This is just foundation. 2021 increased to over $90 billion. $90 billion, people. That is a lot of money, right? But do you need it all? No, you don't need the whole $90 billion. You just need a little bit of the $90 billion, right? Can you imagine what you could do with just a little bit of $90 billion? How about finally open your organization, grow your staff, pay your bills, stop bootstrapping, right? Stop asking family and friends for money. Stop going into your own pockets for money. And guess what? We don't need it all. We just need a little bit. So I want you to put into the chat, I just need a little bit. I just need a little bit. Imagine what you could do with just a little bit of $90 billion. Look, we are not trying to be greedy, Tammy, Clara, Erica, Annie. We just need a little bit. We don't need the whole $90 billion. Really think about Janessa, what you could do with just a little bit. Marshall, just a little bit, Devonna. Devonna says, give me just a little bit, right? Give me just a little bit, okay, of the $90 billion. And so I'm going to show you today how you can get just a little bit, right, of that $90 billion. Now, next, we're on to how do you prepare to write grants? This is a step that too many organizations fail to do. They look at a grant, they download it, they fill it out, they send it off, and they wonder why they get a rejection letter. You have to prepare to write grants. And all I want you to do is just hone up on your writing skills, because I do not want you to submit applications full of grammatical errors. And it's so easy to do that. There's 5 basic writing skills. We are only going to deal with number 5, and that's editing, rewriting. And I'm going to be giving you tea all afternoon. And this is my first cup of tea for you. Grammarly. Grammarly is your friend. I want you to download Grammarly. It is an editing software tool that will make you write better. Okay. If you are using Grammarly, give yourself a shout out into the chat. If you're using Grammarly, I use the professional version, which I think is about $120 a year, but there's a free version as well. And I want you to download this article right here. You will have a replay, so you have access to all of the links. Improve writing skills dramatically by doing these 15 things. It will make you a better writer. Sonia uses Grammarly. Yolanda uses it. Oh, quite a few people use it. Corey uses it. Yvonne, Christopher uses it for school. Downloading now AI. Yes. So good point. Now that they have incorporated artificial intelligence into Grammarly, it is like really off the charts now. But again, free, right? You can use the free version, but make sure Afterwards, your homework, download this article. I'm a professional editor and a professional writer, and this article helped me, and I know that it will help you. We love Grammarly. Now, next, we are preparing to apply for grants. You need to get your documentation in order. What does it look like? Your EIN, that's your employer identification number. For nonprofits, you need that 501c3. Now, for for-profits, this is critical. You need to find out in your state whether or not you are required to have a business license or a state certification. The term is different in different states. I'm in the state of Ohio. As a for-profit, I must have a business license, right? It differs by state. I know in Wyoming, you don't need to have a business license. So it's very different according to the state that you live in. So more homework for you if you are for-profit. Go to your Secretary of State's website, and find out whether or not you need a business license. I was literally doing my webinar last year, and a young lady came on and she said, "Oh my gosh, Linda, you are right." She said, "I'm a for-profit. I was applying for a grant. There was so much competition." She said, "I was the only one that got the grant money because I was the only one that could produce a state certification, a business license," right? So more homework. Make sure you determine whether or not you are required to have that state certification. Next, you need a list of your board, list of your staff. Letters of support become important. Why? Because you want foundations to know that there are other organizations and people in your community that support you, and give them time to write those letters. Who are they coming from? Your pastor, your church, your community leaders, could be your vendors, could be politicians, the mayor. So give them time to write those letters. Now, some applications require an audited financial statement. This is for you seasoned organizations. If so, you need your CPA, your certified public accountant, to complete that audited financial statement. Next, operating budget. And listen to me, startups, right? Yes, you need an operating budget too. It doesn't matter whether or not you are thinking about starting a business or if you've been in business for 20 years, you need an operating budget. Now, if you are a startup, why do you need it? Because one, you have to know how much money this is going to cost you to open up this organization, whether it's a for-profit or a nonprofit, right? So you create that budget so that you know the dollars that you will need. And when you're creating that budget, you can see funding gaps, right? So maybe if you're opening up a storefront, you may have business there where you have money for the lease, you have money to pay for the employees. But when you are looking at that budget, you realize, oh, I didn't think about marketing. Of course, I need marketing dollars. That's where I will apply for the grant. So that budget can also serve number two as indicating to you where you have funding gaps and where you can ask for grants. So whether or not you have started, even if you are a startup, yes, you need an operating budget. Next, you need to list any other funding sources that you have. Why? Because no foundation wants to be the sole source of your income. Why? Because grants are not guaranteed. And just because they give you a grant in year one does not mean they're going to give you a grant in year two. And they don't want to be placed in the position in year two of believing like, if I don't give them money year two, they're going to go under, they're not going to survive. So if you have any other funding sources, please put them into the application. It could be another grant, it could be a sponsorship, right? It could even be an in-kind donation, right? For which you want to put the value of that in-kind donation into your application. So be sure to list any other funding support that you have so that the foundation will know that they are not going to be the only one. And if you don't have any other funding sources, that's okay. You should still be applying. Next, we're going to go through the typical grant components that you find in a grant application. We'll go through these really quickly, and then we're going to deep dive into these one by one. So your summary, your mission, your history, leadership, your description of your organization, your statement of need, target market, how you describe your organization, community partners, your results, which are your outcomes, whether your outputs, your outcomes, and your impact. Those are three that we'll talk about. Your staff, your leadership pertaining to your board now, your board of directors, your budget, and then sustainability. So we're off to the races. We're going to get started. Make sure you drop those questions into the Q&A or the chat. Summary, what do you need to know? Don't be fooled. It is the first part of your application, but you always write it last. Why? Because it is going to include the most compelling parts of that grant application, right? So after you write the grant, you pull out what's most compelling and you put it into the summary. So don't be fooled. You'll see it first. You always write it last. Mission, vision. All of you should have a mission statement, right? But do you have a vision statement? What is the difference? A vision statement is what you would like to have happen in the future if you are attaining your mission statement, right? So if you don't have a vision statement, this is more homework for you because you will probably be asked for a vision statement. Write a vision statement as your homework. Mission, what is the mission? Well, that's what you're doing right now. Those are your aims, right? Your goals. Now, why is that mission important? Because this is how you get to your perfect funder, because you want to make sure that your mission is aligned to the mission statement of the foundation or whatever organization that you are going after for funding, right? So if you are laser focused on K through 12 education, make sure that the funder, the foundation of the corporation, in their mission statement, or maybe in their vision or value statement, that they are talking about K through 12 education. So align those missions. History. Every organization has a history. It doesn't matter, even if you are a startup, right? You never leave this blank. You have a history because you want to talk about what was the impetus for you starting your organization, right? That becomes a part of your history because that idea, right, that experience brought you to the point of opening up your organization. So it becomes a part of the history. I'll give you an example. There was a principal of a high school retired and wanted to start a tutoring organization. And so as she was writing grants, part of her history was the fact that she was a principal at a high school serving grades 9 through 12, and she saw that they were not living up to their grade level potential in reading and math. And so she knew that once she retired, she wanted to start a tutoring organization where she could go back to that high school and provide tutoring services so that she could help those students reach grade level proficiency. So her experiences as a principal becomes part of the history of her tutoring organization, okay? Leadership, that's simply your CEO, your COO, but also includes your board of directors. Yes, your board is part of your leadership. Next, you are describing your organization. And this is where we often fail to do this, or we really do often have problems tooting our own horn, right? But this is what you have to do. When you are describing your organization, you have to show your impact. Use those numbers, right? How successful have you been? Do you have a homeless program? Well, how many homeless people have you been able to place in shelters? Do you have a food ministry? How many pounds or tons of food have you helped to get donated, right? Maybe you have a service organization and you're in career development. How many people have you helped to decide what their future is going to be? Use numbers, right, to really help you describe the impact of your organization as you are describing it. Next, you will need to talk about your statement of need. What is the problem? And this is where too many organizations fail on their grant applications. It does not matter what you do, what type of service you have, what type of program you offer, what type of service or project, right, that you are providing. You have to write it. You have to write this in terms of how am I resolving an issue or addressing a problem, right? It doesn't matter what you're doing. I'll give you the example of the bakery, right? A bakery wants to relocate in a downtown community. You might be thinking, well, what problem is she solving? She's making cakes and cookies. Well, maybe it's a vegan bakery, and she's solving the problem of the fact that vegans really don't have a lot of places to have great pastries. Or maybe when she relocates in that downtown community, she's addressing the issue of economic development, right? Because so many organizations in that area have failed, right? They have failed. And Maybe she's addressing the problem of serving the businesses, right? That they don't have a great bakery to be able to impress their clients or just have great catering. So it doesn't matter what you do, you always look at it in terms of how am I addressing an issue? And whatever that issue is going to connect you to the perfect funder because they also have the same interest. So if your statement of need is about addressing the homeless population, you want to make sure that you're looking for foundations that also have an interest in addressing the homeless, right? So that statement of need, that area of interest that you're addressing becomes really important in you finding that funder. Now, how do you find information about the foundation, right? 90% of foundations don't have a website. Again, 90% of foundations do not have a website. So how do you get the information, right? Well, this is another cup of tea for you. You can check the 990s, right? All foundations provide 990s as their tax document. It is a wealth of information. Don't sleep on 990s, okay? Because on that 990 form, you are going to see a list of the board members of that foundation, typically the senior staff. But if you scroll to the end of that 990 document, you are going to see a list of other organizations where they have donated to. And you will be looking for a similar organization as yours on that list, because if you have like an equestrian program where you're using horses to help heal veterans, right? You're going to be looking for other organizations that they have funded that utilize animals to help in the healing process, right? So no matter what it is, look at the end of that 990 to see if there are similar organizations. And you'll know that might be my foundation. Now, where do you get 990s? This is more tea. You could certainly subscribe to different websites, right? Where they will give you access to 990s, or you could go to this website for free, projects.propublica.org/nonprofits. When you go to this website, they are going to provide you with free access to any 990 that has been filed, okay? Any 990 that has been filed, you will get free access to. So don't sleep on the 990s. Next, your target population. At the end of the day, who are you helping? You cannot help everybody, right? You cannot help everybody. I know you're passionate about your cause or your work. You can't help everybody. You can't serve everybody, right? You have to figure out who would be best, the word best served, right? By your, whether it's your service or your program or your project, who would be best served? Maybe it's based on demographics. Maybe your organization serves women, it's gender-based. Maybe it's based on ethnicity and you serve African Americans. Maybe it's geared towards people who live below the federal poverty line, so it's based on income. Maybe you have a daycare center, right? Therefore, you're looking for families with children under the age of 5. Any type of demographics that you need, don't sleep on the census. This is a free website for you to be able to get demographics about whether it's the region that you're thinking about opening up in or just your target population, right? And it's free. That is another free resource that I use. It is amazing, amazing. So stop sleeping on the census. It provides so much valuable information, right? At the end of the day, you are telling a story. You really are on that grant application. And you have to keep in mind, you are selling your mission and your organization and the story of your organization to that foundation. But one thing I just want you to keep in mind as you are writing, always keep at the forefront of your mind and in that narrative, your target population, who you are serving, because they are the center of your story. And that's where the transformation takes place. So let's say you're helping the homeless, right? Get shelter. Well, once you place them in a shelter, maybe they can go back to school, right? Or get gainful employment, right? The transformation is taking place within your client, right? So just always keep those for whom you are serving at the center of your story. And this is for, doesn't matter if you have a for-profit or a nonprofit. All right. So my question to you is, especially those of you who have written, I want you to put a yes in the chat. If you have written a grant, put a yes into the chat. If you have written yes, 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 we have some yeses, not a lot, but some yeses, okay? So ask yourself, did you really do a good job of telling the story of your organization? Did you talk about how lives were changed or outcomes were achieved? Because you have to appeal to emotions. And the best way to do that is using real examples, testimonials, case studies. There's no better way to do that than using a video. And we're not talking about something that is long or expensive. The video shouldn't be more than 2 minutes, maybe 3 at the max, right? And guess what? It can be done with a cell phone. We're not talking about something expensive. You can literally take a cell phone or have your client take their cell phone and talk into it for 30 seconds, talking about how this is the best cupcake they've ever had in their life, right? Or how your service and your program changed their life. Literally, everybody knows, like, I'm an Android girl, but if you have that iPhone, then I guess you can use that too. But literally, seriously, that video needs to go on the homepage of your website. Your website, right? Yes, you need a website. It's fine that you have social media pages, but I've been doing this for 15 years, and I can assure you that the first place that foundation is going to go is not your Instagram page, not your Facebook page, not your Facebook group, your website. Yes, you need a website. You need that footprint. It doesn't even have to be complicated. 2 or 3 pages where you're providing information about your program. That homepage needs to have testimonials on it, right? Where you are talking about what your impact is. Now, my pet peeve, I go crazy when I hear some of the quotes that are given to small organizations to build a website. This does not have to be expensive. This can be affordable, right? I have a phenomenal website designer. She's actually a developer and a designer, and it's rare to have both in one person. She's been doing it for 25 years, and she's phenomenal, and she's affordable. So I would be more than happy to refer you to her, right? And I certainly have other people as well who provide websites that are affordable, right? So if you want that referral, drop your email into the Q&A, right? Drop it into the Q&A because we want to, maintain everybody's privacy. Drop it into the Q&A and I will give you that referral to her, right? Because you need a website, and it should not be expensive, but it's going to be really important, right? If you are applying for grants, to have that website done, right? Because you want to be able to showcase your work in a great way. So drop your email into the Q&A if you want that website designer referral, because this can be done in a very cost-effective manner. Some of the rates that you hear are just insane. And look, I know you're a small business, you're a small nonprofit. Next, you have a decision to make. Are you going to be asking for program dollars or operating dollars? What is the difference? Operating grants mean that you can place the money anywhere you want. You spend it wherever you want. It could be on IT, on your lease, on your personnel, your staff, right? Or maybe you want just money for a particular project, like the bakery. She's wanting to start a delivery service, right? So she's asking for money for that particular project. What you need to know, and this is critical, you must be applying to multiple foundations for the same need, right? You should not only be applying ever to just one foundation. And yes, you can apply to multiple foundations for the same exact item, for the same need. Let's say you want $10,000 to hire a 1099 contracted worker, right? You should be applying to Foundation A for $10,000 and Foundation B for $10,000, right? What happens if you get them both, right? And all of a sudden you've got $20,000. What you're not going to do is give the money back, because we don't give grant money back. What you can do is increase the hours of the 1099 worker, or maybe now you can hire 2 1099 workers, right? But what you have to do is always apply to more than one foundation, even if it's for the same exact need, okay? Next, this is how you're describing whatever your project or your service is, but as I mentioned before, you're talking about impact. How have you been successful? If it's something new that you're doing, why will it be successful? This is where you need to do research and make sure it's something that you will be able to provide based on the research, right? But whatever you do, however you're writing it, you have to talk about how you are addressing an issue. Next, community partnerships have become more and more important to that grant application. It's all about collaboration now. After 15 years of being in business, I can tell you, you can't do this alone, right? You will need help. And it does not need to be an exchange of money. It just depends on what that partnership looks like, right? I was writing a grant for a Black school years ago. It was a 3rd grade class. And the teacher wanted to teach the 3rd graders the violin. We were partnering with the Cleveland Orchestra, like clearly one of the greatest orchestras in the world, right? And they were going to come to the school and teach these 3rd graders the violin. Can you imagine what that looks like on a grant application? That's why you need to partner with well-respected organizations in your community. There will be a wealth of information for you, right? They typically have seasoned board members, right? And you never know who knows who, right? Those board members might be able to refer you to other foundations for funding. The Urban League, think about HBCUs, 100 Black Men of America, the Y, other organizations that you can partner with in your community. And it can be very simple. The partnership can be very simple. The bakery is partnering with an event planner where in that bakery, she's passing out flyers to talk about the services of the event planner. And the event planner is utilizing the services of the bakery, but also providing information about the bakery in her particular shop. So this can be easy, but you will have to talk about how you are utilizing the community, right, to provide your services or your program. Next, we are going to talk about results. And so I don't want you to be afraid of this F word, forecasting, right? Because all you're doing is indicating what you perceive to be your future results. That's all you're doing. Now, sometimes the grant will just ask for outputs. Sometimes it will ask for all 3: outputs, outcomes, and impacts. So we are going to do all 3 so that you know what the difference is. Outputs, immediate results. You give me the grant money, this is what I'm going to do. Now, outcomes typically happen maybe 6 months to a year down the road after your outputs. Those are changes in activities that result as a result of the outputs, right? A little further down the road. The impact, right? That occurs a little further down the road, maybe in a year to 2 years. Now I take a sip. I'm going to show you how this looks. There was a daycare center. They wanted $20,000 to open. They said to the foundation, if you give us $20,000, that's all we need. That's what we need to open. We found a great location. We will serve 100 families and 250 children, right? That's the output. That will happen as soon as they get the $20,000, right? 6 months down the road, they're going to write, well, we project this to be our outcome because we open in a great neighborhood and we're serving 100 families and 250 children. We're going to be able to grow our capacity by 40% and add 24/7 services, right? Now, a year to 2 years down the road, because we were able to grow by 40%, because we were able to add 24/7 services, this will be our impact. We will have a survey that indicates 25% of families will experience less stress. And 65% of families will demonstrate improved behavior because we have such a great educational program. And we project that we will expand to 2 locations. So you see how one stair steps the other. Again, sometimes the grant will just ask for outputs. Sometimes it will ask for all 3. So you will know how to address it. Next, goals. You know goals are important. Most of you have probably heard of SMART goals, right? Which is what you are going to need to include, right? Not just a goal, a SMART goal. What are they? They're specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. I'm going to show you how I change one goal into a SMART goal. I have a program. I write down as my goal, I want to reduce the poverty rate in Cleveland. Well, that's a huge, expansive goal, right? I mean, that is really a large goal. You have to be more specific, right? So this is how I wrote the SMART goal. I want to reduce the poverty rate by 5% in Cleveland for Hispanic children under the age of 5 within a 5-year time frame. What did I do there? I put into the chat, if you saw what I did, how did I change the goal into a SMART goal, right? What did I do there? What did I do? I added, yes, Deborah, qualitative data. Ding, ding, ding. You are right. I added data, right? Quantitative data, really quantitative data, because you want to be able to measure, and you're exactly right. You want to be able, and sometimes it's qualitative, sometimes it's quantitative, whatever it is, it has to be measurable, right? It has to be measurable. So I put in data to be able to measure, and you can do this. You can put in data and stats, right? So that you can measure what it is that you are providing. And yes, Deborah's right, it can be quantitative and it can be qualitative. Now, I love assessment tools. You are going to have to talk about, how do you know what you're doing is working? How do you know your program is working or your service is working? Think about this. What do you do? How do you know that your project is successful? You have to have some type of assessment, right? Think about the tutoring organization and the principal. She's using the reading and math scores, right? The test scores of the high school kids in reading and math before and after they take the tutoring program to know whether or not she's been a success. I happen to love surveys. I use SurveyMonkey. Drop into the chat if you have a particular survey that you like to use or that works really, really well for you, right? So again, I love SurveyMonkey. I know there's like a jot form, I think, that I see a lot of people using. So if you have some type of survey that works really, really well for you, just make sure, okay, Yvonne uses SurveyMonkey, just drop it into the chat. Make sure if you want everyone to see that you're addressing it to everyone and not just the panelists. Okay, Jill has used SurveyMonkey. I answer a lot of, yeah, I do too. I answer a lot of surveys on SurveyMonkey. I don't just use it, but I answer a lot of surveys in jot form too. So all you're doing is you have to talk about how are you going to literally provide proof that your program or your service is working. Next, you need to list your staff, right? And maybe it's you, maybe you're the person that's leading the organization as the founder or the CEO. But if you have any other personnel that will have a in-depth role, you need to be able to include their bios and resumes as well. So that's more homework, especially for you for-profits, because you may not have updated that bio or that resume in a long time. So that's more homework. Update that bio and that resume. Why is it important? Because it's all about accountability. These foundations want to make sure that you have the right people in the right place at the right job. All right. Next, budget. What do you need to know? Itemize your expenses, right? If you're looking for $50,000 to hire an executive director, you don't just want to put down, I need 50 grand for an ED. No, you have to talk about, well, how long is that person going to be serving? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? Is it a contracted executive director? Is it a W-2 executive director? Therefore, you will also need to show benefits, right? So the how, right? The how of the ways in which you are using the funding goes into the budget narrative. The numbers are in the budget, but how you're using the funding into the budget narrative. But a little trick that I have, little best practice, I always, when I'm writing that budget narrative, I relate that money right back to the goal of the program. So if I need money for an executive director, I'm speaking as to the importance of that executive director. to the success of the program. All right, sustainability. I love this little section because it is fun. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that grants are not guaranteed, right? So you literally have to write into your grant application how you are going to sustain your program in year 2, right? If you don't get the money, right? Because remember I said earlier that foundations, they don't like to be in a position to think that they have to give you money in year 2. So you have to literally write in the application that even though you may not get the money in year 2, you still have a way to keep that program moving and living in year 2. So I want you to think about that high school, right? They got the $20,000 for the tutoring program, right? In year 1, they had to write in that application how they were going to come up with $20,000 in year 2 to sustain the program if they did not get the grant. So little activity, I want you to drop into the chat for me. This is a high school. Think about some ways and write in the chat ways in which you think they could have talked about how they're going to come up with $20,000 in year 2. This is a high school, right? What do you think they might be able to? Exactly, Sonia, selling candy, fundraisers, right? What about a car wash? Erica, excellent, a silent auction, right? Lisa says car wash, right? Maybe it's tickets to like their musical or some type of community event that they want to provide, right? Or maybe they're selling merchandise, school merchandise, right? Fairs, it's excellent, a golf tournament, a showcase, like fantastic, right? Concerts from the students, exactly. Parent volunteers, the PTO, absolutely excellent example is the PTO, right? And booster clubs. So you have to be creative when you're writing, and this sustainability question is going to be in the grant application. I've seen it on almost all of them lately. You just have to be creative to talk about, this is what I'm going to do to make sure that I'm still okay. My program is still sustainable in year 2, even if I don't get your grant money, right? At the end of the day, winning grants will require a change in your mindset. I do not want you approaching this thinking, oh my gosh, this is a grant. I can't do it. I don't know how to write. It's too long. Is it going to take too long? It's too much. No. As I mentioned earlier, grants, the whole industry has changed, right? You're no longer writing that 200-page dissertation, right? You are no longer spending months and months and months writing grants. You can do this, but I would absolutely advise you, and this is critical. This drives me insane. I just have to tell you, have to be real, drives me insane when I hear about these people being scammed, right? And I hear it when I tell you almost daily. I hear it almost daily. Look, anytime you're talking about free money, the scammers are coming out of the woodwork, right? I hear horror stories of people being literally scammed because they gave a grant writer $1,500 or $1,000, never heard from the person before. Or if someone approaches you and says, if you give me $50, I'll write 3 grants for you. You need to do one of those military turns and head and run in the other direction because they're scammers, right? So what I want you to always do is be in a community of support so that you can ask the right questions to the right people, because I know you want to help your clients and solve your problems, but it does take creating, these really good relationships. Now, if you take nothing else away from this webinar, this is critical. You must meet with the funder first. I cannot stress that enough. I have been in foundation meetings with foundation leaders where I've heard them say, if you send me a grant application and you have not called me, have not emailed me, you have not contacted me, that application might go into the trash. Now, that doesn't always happen, right? All foundations don't do that. And some foundations don't even want to meet with you. They will tell you, fill out the application and submit it. But if you have the opportunity, and usually you do, meet with that funder, because that meeting can be the difference as to whether or not you get grant money. Because in that meeting, you're building a relationship. You are going to learn information about that grant that they never put on their website. They will learn information about your organization, right? About your nonprofit or your for-profit that they'll never be able to get from your website, right? I set up a meeting a month ago with a client, 30 minutes, Zoom. the client and the foundation had never heard of my client before, but those missions aligned. The client walked away with $30,000. Set up another meeting. This was maybe 6 to 8 weeks ago with the foundation, a family foundation, didn't even have a website, right? Found the information, set up the meeting. After maybe about 2 hours that time, not only did they walk away with a $30,000 grant, but the family guaranteed that they would provide them with $30,000 every year. You must meet with the funder first. It is going to be critical. And if that foundation likes you, they will literally tell you how to fill out that application and what to include so that you have a better chance of getting the funding, right? So these are some do's. Next, okay, people, time management, time, deadline driven. So if the deadline is 4:59 p.m., right? And you submit that application at 5:00 p.m., you are going to be disappointed, okay? You're going to be disappointed because that portal will be closed. So I would advise, please don't wait until the last day to apply. You don't want any type of technical difficulties. Answer every question, right? I review grants. I'm paid to review grant applications too. I've read some beautiful answers to the wrong question, okay? Make sure you're addressing the question. I always read grant questions 3 times, and absolutely have someone else review your grant application before you submit it. Some don't use cookie cutter answers. Look, I love a template. I use templates. I love a template, but I don't want you to think that you're going to copy and paste from one template to like 20 different other applications. No. And next, don't ask for too much money when approaching a funder for the first time. Okay. Now, most grants will tell you how much money, 5,000, 10,000. But when you're working with a community foundation, they won't tell you how much money to ask for, right? They won't tell you. You have to come up with an amount, but be conservative. I always recommend between $5,000 and $30,000 the first time. And then definitely don't forget to edit. Now, remember, I talked about how important it is to meet with the funder. How are you going to do this? You're going to write a letter of introduction. In that letter, you'll describe your organization and your target population. You will align the missions, right? You're not asking for money. You're asking for a meeting. You may do some research and get the name of the right person, right? But how do you get the right email address? Like, that's the key, because I don't want you sending this letter to like info@abcfoundation.org, some info email address that's going to take it into the hemisphere and it might never even come back. Okay. You need a real email address. And I've been giving you tea all afternoon. This is the teapot. Okay. Getemail.io is, it has literally changed my business, because it will literally search and find the email address of almost any individual working in any established organization, excuse me, around the world. I find emails for people I need to contact in Italy, Germany, you name it, right? You name it. It is going to be available to you. So again, in the replay, you will have this link. All right. Okay. So getemail.io. Oh, the one thing I want to tell you is that for sure, the first maybe 10 to 15 emails you actually get for free, right? Now there's a monthly subscription, right? There's a monthly subscription, and it is, I would say, about $60, maybe about $60 a month, but you can pay that if you want, but just know that you are getting literally 10 to 15 free. So I always recommend that you really utilize those 10 to 15 as well as you possibly can, right? So there's your email, and this is going to be a part of the replay too. So definitely That's one of the first things I would do. It's been a game changer. Now, I'm giving you the actual grant research portals, right, that you can use if you need to research the grants, right? Research the grants. So here are what maybe, here's 8 of the most popular ones. 8 of the most popular ones. The Foundation Directory Online is the leading source, right? It's the leading source of grants in the country. And guess what? If you have a local library, you will gain access for free, right? Now, other than that, it's about $50 a month for the subscription. But again, if you're on a budget, go to your local library. All right. Instrumental, they're pricey. They're about $200 a month, right? But they give you the information about the funder. They give you the grant. They give you the 990. They give you all kinds of training, but they are pretty pricey. So if you can afford that, you can look for grants without using Instrumental, because that is really, really, really really expensive. Grants.gov, you know what grants.gov is, right? That is the federal source of grants, and they have over 900 grant programs and 26 different agencies, right? Let's see, the Lilly Foundation. So what you need to know, if there are any faith-based organizations here, please know that there are grants for you. Yes, there are grants for you. Just so you know, you can be a church, you can be a faith-based organization, and yes, there's money for you. All right. I like Grant Gopher. If you have a lot of educational grants, you want to go to Grant Gopher. Also Grant Watch, they have a lot of last minute grants. They're about maybe $20 a week for Grant Watch, right? I also love Grant Station because they have a ton of grants for for-profit organizations, and you really get to drill down exactly what area that you're in. Now, you need to know about urbanawarenessusa.org because they are Black owned. They are Black owned, and they have tons of information on grants for minorities. This is just the homepage of Grant Station. I wanted to show you how it works. When you're searching for your grants, right there at the top, it says U.S. Charitable. Those are your foundations. Maybe you want to look for federal grants, but I would probably go to grants.gov for federal grants. And as you can see, and there's always someone on here, either from Canada or someplace around the world, Scotland, you name it. As you can see in the middle, there are international grants available. So don't think this is just for those who literally live in the US. It is not. So even if you live in another country, yes, you can definitely search for grants for you. So please don't think you have to be here in the US. You put in your geographical scope, the type of grant, your target population. Are you helping veterans, the homeless, K through 12, right? Education. You put in all of this information and you hit a button, and literally it will give you a list of available grants, like the grant application, where you can fill it out and who's providing the grant. It's a wealth of information. Grant Station is about $200 a year. However, right, oftentimes they will provide nonprofits with a free subscription. So check them out to find out whether or not they are running that special. Now, I told you I was going to provide a list of grant research, and this is available grants. This is the list here. The U.S. Chambers of Commerce are working with American Express to provide a We Back Black Business grant. You may know about the DOT, Department of Transportation grants. Facebook has a Black Creators grant, NASE grants, the MBDA grant. FedEx has a grant program. Another federal grant is the SBIR. This if you're really doing a lot of research. Now, the Northwestern Mutual Black Founders program, they have an accelerator. Now, some of you might be thinking, oh, I'm too small, or I don't have any workers, I just have volunteers. Well, Amarillo, they only provide funding to really small, teeny tiny organizations, or yes, all volunteers. You do not need to have W-2 employees. You don't even need to have 1099 employees. You can be an all volunteer organization and get grant funding as long as you are making an impact and you are working your program. So don't think you need a huge staff to get grant funding. Now, if you are faith-based, Mustard Seed Foundation, all they do is provide funding for faith-based organizations, including churches. The Harlem Capital is a group of Black entrepreneurs and investors, and they invest in Black organizations. The Lilly Foundation 2 years ago they set aside $23 million just to give to Black churches and HBCUs. GiveButter.com is another group of Black philanthropists. All they do is give grant money to Black organizations. Barclays Bank, they're providing grants for minority organizations. Now, let's say you're a startup. You might be thinking there are no grants for me. Yes, there are grants for you. Ensile, right? And Sky's the Limit. They also offer grants. So again, everything's being recorded. You will get the replay, right? You will get the replay. Now, I know there are a lot of women on the webinar, so I have a slide just for you. If you are a small business, you must sign up to helloalice.com because that's now one of the largest portals that provides grants for women-owned small businesses. The next two I call the credit card money, right? Because there are two grant programs for Black women, the Fearless Fund and the Visa She's Next. Next, Kickstarter, Creative Capital, and Skoll, they provide funding. Goldman Sachs has a program for 1 million. It's their 1 million Black women program. And actually, they accept nonprofits and for-profits. Cartier, the jewelry company, they really like to provide this funding initiative to women of color. Amber Grants for Women, they provide $10,000 every single month and $25,000 a quarter and $50,000 a year. Now, if you have a health and wellness program or maybe a sports program, you want to look at women's sports foundations, right? So we're almost at the end. I want you to tell me into the chat, what do you think about when you think about banks and money, banks and money, banks and money? Tell me into the chat, what do you think about? Right, loans, right? Loans, somebody's laughing, ha ha, right? Right, loans. But did you know that banks are some of the largest providers of grants, not loans, grants, grant money, free money in the country? You've been speaking to the wrong person. You probably maybe went to the branch manager. He or she will only try to sell you a loan. If you go to your loan officer, they will probably try to sell you a bigger loan. You need to find the vice president. Typically, their title is something similar to community reinvestment or community affairs or economic development, right? But it's going to be your vice president. So you need to find a bank that has a great footprint in your area. Maybe you see a lot of commercials about them. Maybe you see a lot of branches, right, about them. You want to make absolutely sure that they have a good footprint, right, in your area. Maybe if you don't have a headquarters building in your area, maybe there's a regional office, right, in the state. Maybe it's not in the city, maybe it's in the state, but please understand that banks, one of the largest providers of grant money, yes, for profits and nonprofits. No, you do not have to have an account there, right? You don't need an account. It doesn't need to be your bank. Some of these banks, the larger ones, the two largest that I know that have set aside millions of dollars, maybe even maybe it's even $500 million for one of these in particular. Wells Fargo and Bank of America. They have programs specifically set aside to help for-profit organizations with grants, right? So it could be one of the major banks, even if they don't have a location. Definitely check out those two because, I mean, I've received money from them for clients for for-profits for grants. Now, remember I said to you that there's more money available now than I've ever seen before for us, for Black-owned small businesses or Black-led nonprofits. Well, I wanted to help. I wanted to do something. There is no way I can help everybody writing a grant at a time. But I also know that this money is available and I know that you can get it. But yes, you need to learn how to write the grant. So I created a very easy to follow grant writing course, right? It's a step-by-step path to how I was able to secure $17 million because I put everything I've known about grant writing seriously for the last 15 years in this course, because I do want you to be impactful and fulfill your mission without always bootstrapping, without always asking people for money, family and friends for money. Think about, what you could do with $20,000, $30,000, $50,000. You can finally start your nonprofit or your for-profit, or maybe pay your bills, right? Or your staff, or grow. Yes, this course is absolutely going to cut 50% off the time that you use to research and write grants. I get the question, I think, a million times a day: is there a grant for fill in the blank? More than likely, yes. You have to find the organization that's going to fund it, right? And so you need the right method. And I provide you, of course, with the best grant research techniques. I show you how to find funders who want to give you money. I show you how to approach funders. And I'm going to teach you how to write every single part of that grant narrative, right? So that you can write grants, tell your story, put forth a little bit of effort to get a whole lot of equity, right? What do we have included in it? You have 12 modules, 35 lessons. And I know people learn differently. So I start every lesson out with a video, right? And then you have the lesson and I have the task. It's fun because you're writing about what you love. You're writing about your organization. And of course I have planners. You know how important planners are. And everything's downloadable. Everything's online, but everything's downloadable. All of the workbooks, I try to make it easy for you. And I have these really fun, silly quizzes. And yes, I have given you actual grant examples. And every grant example that's in this course, I wrote the grant and the grant won money. So every single grant is a winning grant. And I do something that nobody else is doing. I actually give you a list of over 450 funders. Yes, over 450 funders. You'll be ready to go. Literally, the latest list I uploaded about a month ago has a list of 50 organizations that just provide money to entrepreneurs. And unfortunately, there are some course creators where you buy the course, that's the end of it. You will never see that person again. I'm here to help you, right? People who know me personally know I've been a servant leader since I was 15 years old. I'm here to serve. I'm here to help you. I have a private Facebook group. I'm in the group. If anybody's in that Facebook group, I'm telling you that Facebook group is lit all the time. Literally, last month, they created a sub working group because they are serious about getting this money, right? And I have professional grant writers in the Facebook group that have taken the course. So when you buy the course, you get admitted to the Facebook group and you come in with your questions. I mean, I've even seen where people come in and they have a grant written. They just ask, can you put your eyes on this, right? The people in the Facebook group, right? And I'm often in there answering questions too, but that doesn't end, right? It doesn't end there. I'm here to help you. I want you to get this money. Every single month, I give you an hour of group coaching. And let me tell you, I get you together in that hour. You're on the hot seat because I want you to move your organization forward and get this grant money, right? So if any of you have been at that group coaching call or in the Facebook group, give yourself a shout out because I'm serious about helping people. Now, I've had the course audited 3 times. This is what it's worth, not the price you're going to get, but it's been audited 3 times. And the modules and the lessons are worth $3,549. The 30 videos are worth $599, and the 400 funders are worth $499. Now, of course, I give you workbooks, right? You know how important those grant planners are and the grant trackers, they're worth $350. But no, that's not what you're paying. Even though the course is valued at $4,997, the regular price is $997. Like that's my regular price. It's on sale now. We're in the month of June. What's coming up. Juneteenth is coming up. So it's half off. It's $497. But guess what? You're not even paying that because you joined me today. You joined me for this webinar, which tells me you're serious about getting this money. So for the next 3 days only, it's half off. It's literally half of the $497 price. It's $247, people. That's one payment. People think, Linda, that's got to be a month. It's not per month. It's one payment. You're one and done. $247. But yes, you have to use this code to get it. because it's literally listed as $497. And just so you know, people pay that every day. They pay the $497 price every day, but you came onto the webinar. So this is a special for the next 3 days. So I can't keep it at $247 because of the people that pay $497. But even though this code that you're going to use, the June 1N, like Nancy, June 1N, that code expires, but the course never expires because I know life happens, right? You may buy the course and say, I'm going to start tomorrow, but guess what? Life happens. So I don't put you under that kind of pressure. The course never expires. You will be admitted to the Facebook group. You will be there. The group coaching continues. And look, at the end of these 12 modules, you will have completed a grant proposal because I'm asking you questions, right? And as you answer, you are completing what would be a simulated grant proposal. So at the end, you're done. And then I give you a list of 450 grant funders. So yes, this is all you get. We didn't even talk about the letter of inquiry, right? There's actually a storytelling lesson in the course because I want you to be successful. I'm trying to do everything I can to get you this money, right? So it's $247, one payment. No, it's not. It's not per month. It's one payment. And I'm going one step further, right? People know I don't normally do this, and this will be ending very shortly. Those of you who don't have the $247, I'm giving you a chance to pay over the course of 2 months, $137.50 per month for 2 months. No code is needed, right? So if you need 2 months to pay, is $137.50. And I don't drip my courses. That means when you pay, whether you pay the one payment of $247, one and done, or the $137.50, which you're paying a little bit more, but you're paying over 2 months. Even if you pay the $137.50 now, you get the full course. I don't drip. You get everything, including admission into the Facebook group. You get everything, right? And so if you're going to purchase, you're going to come to this page, you hit the link. I want to make sure, right, the link is into the chat. Excellent. Yes, it's lifetime access. Absolutely. So you will come to this page, you will click purchase, and then you will go to a page where you use a code. But really quickly, if you wanted to take advantage of the 2 payments, hit that little drop down arrow and it says 2 times $137.50. Now, if you want to make the one payment, one and done, you hit purchase, you will come to this page here. To the left, it says, do you have a coupon? You will input the coupon code and it will immediately take up $250 and your course will be $247. Now you see this little block here. You don't have to take advantage of this. A lot of people do. It says, ask the expert private grant coaching. That is a one-on-one, 1 hour call with me where we do a deep dive into your organization. I get you together and I send you along your way so that you can have the best access, right, to the course and to getting these grants. But that's up to you. That's if you want a one-on-one with me. You can come into the Facebook group and ask questions as well. You can ask questions during the group coaching, but that's just a one-on-one with you and me. It's normally $497 for the hour, but it's reduced to $197, but it's only if you buy the course. So that's the only place you will see it for $195 is if you buy the course. So that is available for you. Why is this important for you to just move now? Whether you buy this course or not, you need to move. You need to move forward. I don't want you to be in the same place a month from now, right? Thinking like, I heard there were some grants. How did he get a grant? How did she get a grant? How did that organization get a grant, right? I just want you to move yourself forward because we are at June 1st. Did you know that organizations like Walmart and Verizon, when the money is exhausted, it's gone because they start giving away money on January 1st. You are entering the second quarter, make it better than the first. Do something to put your organization in a position to get some of all of this grant funding. The next group coaching session is June 29th. I want to read quickly from Christina. Christina looks just like you and me, right? Yes, she does. May I share that I am so grateful for Linda. I would not have had the confidence to follow through on applying for grants if it wasn't for her grant writing course. The depth of information provided is unmatched from my experience. I won my very first grant to grow my business, and I am so grateful. She was scared too. She was scared too, right? And she got the confidence to move forward. And you know what? This grant that she won was $10,000 plus a year of phenomenal mentorship. And you know where she got the grant from? I dropped it in the Facebook group, right? I'm always dropping grants into the Facebook group. I just dropped like maybe 20 grants in there yesterday, right? You can do this. Quintina looks like us. And by the way, Christina, that was just like maybe 2 months ago. So it's not like these are old, right? Quintina is March 1st of this year. She just got her first grant award letter, right? Fair is working on, she's gotten 5 grants for her mom's church, right? Remember I said you can be a faith-based organization. Look at Reverend Chris. She's up to $35,000, right? This is not a list of some aliens, people from some other planet, right? These are real people. If you come into the Facebook group, you can ask them. They're in there, right? I just want you to place yourself in a position to be successful, right? We're going to do the Q&A, but before we do the Q&A, I'm going to drop out of there and stop sharing. I want everybody that is on this call right now, into the chat, Sometimes you have to speak things into the universe, into the chat. I'm ready to get grant money. I am ready to get grant money. I am ready to get grant money. Everybody in the chat right now. I am ready to get grant money, and then we'll do our Q&A. Christopher is ready to get grant money. Is it Klein, Jakeesh, Janisa, Roberta, Carla, Tracy, Tammy, Jance, Kay? Is it Kashila, Janya, Ricardo, Jill, David, Tiffany, Clara, Batril is ready to get grant money. Sonia is ready to get grant money. Davina is ready to get grant money. PP is ready to get grant money. Alicia, Michelle, who else is ready? Joyce, April, ready to get grant money. Hey, Gloria and Deborah. This is it. Whatever you do, I want to serve you. I want to serve as your coach. I hope to see you in the Facebook group. I want to help you move forward, but whatever you do, just don't be in the same place next month. Do something to move yourself forward, okay? Now, we're at Q&A, and I know I saw some questions in the Q&A, so I'm going to start there, and then I saw other questions into the chat. Is there funding available for community laundromats? So really quickly, what you need to know, as I said before, there's funding available for just about anything. You have to find the right funder, but keep in mind, this is important. There's typically the money is divided into 2 different areas. One, it is topical, right? It is industry based. So there may be let's say there may be a Tide, because Tide, they have laundromats now. Maybe Tide, which of course is Procter & Gamble, maybe they are providing a grant for companies that own laundromats, right? Or maybe there's an organization that's providing grants for women who own restaurants, right? So those are industry specific. And actually there's a grant right now that's available for restaurant owners that just came to my mind. Those are topical, those are industry specific, right? So there may be a grant that is just for people who own laundromats, or there may be a grant that is for business owners or nonprofits in your local community. It may have nothing to do with the industry. And that's the second part. There are grants that have nothing to do with your industry, right? Because you're a for-profit, because you're Black owned, there's going to be grant money for you, right? Also, there may be, or there are grants available for women-owned organizations, right? Women-owned organizations has nothing to do with what they sell or their program or their project. So either it's going to be industry specific, or it's just going to be based on the fact that you are in business and you are a Black-owned business, right? So you're going to hear me say a lot, it depends, because it really does depend. It really does depend. Again, it's just going to be based on, and first of all, your industry, but can we give Michelle some love? Because when Michelle said she was ready to get grant money, she has signed up. Let's give Michelle some love. When she said she was ready to get grant money, she was not kidding. Michelle has signed up. Thank you, Michelle. I will see you in the Facebook group, and I will see you on that group coaching call, so that I'm going to get your organization together, right? So right now, I'll give you an example. And my gosh, the deadline is tomorrow. Everybody, the deadline is tomorrow. Progressive is giving a $25,000 grant to Black entrepreneurs if you need a vehicle for the use of your company, right? If you need like a vehicle that you use for your business on a regular basis, and it's not just one, they're giving away multiple $25,000 grants. It has to be a Black entrepreneur, right? So that's what I mean when I say it doesn't matter what your business is, because you're a Black entrepreneur, you're going to be qualified for the grant. So it just depends. Do you have to apply for the same grant every year? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. It's rare that foundations give multi-year grants. That is super rare. So for the most part, probably 95% of the time, yes. All right, drop those questions. Don't be scared. Okay, I have all of the website referrals. I have those referrals. All right. Okay, so yes, even if you need your website revamped, I can send you that referral. So even if you don't need a new one, but you just need it tweaked, right? Sometimes you just need it tweaked to make it to have an impact. Yes, the replay will be sent to you at 7 o'clock tonight and then also tomorrow. Yep, the replay will be sent to you at 7 o'clock tonight. The course is 12 modules, 35 lessons. You're going to see 50 lessons only because the quizzes are counted as a lesson, right? But the actual lessons are about 35 lessons. And the schedule that you get will tell you how long it will take you to get through the course. So if you spend 2 hours a week or 3 hours a week, some people, let me tell you, some people go through that course in a week, that they're one and done because they need that information, they're ready to go. All right. Yeah, to complete without interruption. Wow, it depends on the size of your organization. If you are a larger organization, you probably have more information to provide as I'm asking you questions, but definitely within a week. If you do it without interruption, you'll be done in a week. When do you have to take one-to-one if your nonprofit is not ready? When do you have to take the one-to-one if your nonprofit is not? Are you talking about the one-to-one call with me? You can do that anytime, right? So if your nonprofit is not ready, so you decide what you want to talk to me about in that session. So you may want to talk about how do I get my nonprofit ready, which I've consulted with nonprofits. I can help you there. Or you might want to wait until your nonprofit is ready. So you really decide the subject of that one-on-one coaching call with me. I let you decide what you want to talk about for an hour. Sharon, I want you to send me personal email. And to all of you that are left, this is important, don't go anywhere. I'm putting 2 email addresses into the chat. I want you to put these into your safe senders list because that replay is coming at 7 o'clock tonight. And I don't want it going to your spam. So it's lpv@lapov.com. That's my direct email address. Sharon, I need for you to send me a direct email based on your question. hello@grantwritingfornonwriters.com. All right, those 2 emails, I just dropped them into the chat. Okay. The link is in the chat to sign up, everyone. The link is in the chat. The link is right in the chat. Look in the chat for under the person that's titled grant writing. I think that's Irene that's helping me. Look for the link. Let me see if I can. Sometimes you can copy and paste, sometimes you can't. There you go. There's the link right there. I just dropped it again. But those 2 email addresses, please put in your safe senders list. Everybody, please give Tammy. Tammy wasn't playing around. When Tammy said she was ready to get grant money, she meant it. Let's give Tammy some love. Tammy has signed up. Okay. Tammy has signed up. Tammy has signed up. Tammy is like, look, I am not being left behind. Okay. Other questions? So Sharon, send me the email. How long would a vision statement be? Oh, it depends. It really depends, but maybe, maybe 3 to 4 sentences. No, It could be 3 to 4 sentences for sure. Yes, there's lifetime access, Clara. There's lifetime access to the course. As I said before, look, I know life happens. I know life happens, right? I know it does. I truly, truly, truly want to help you. And I don't want you placed under this undue pressure, like, oh my gosh, I only have a month to finish the course. I don't want that for you. Like, I don't want that for you. I'm more concerned about you getting money than me shutting down this course for you in 2 or 3 months. No, it's a lifetime access. All right. Can you consult for 2 different business types with the offer? 2 different business types. So I think I know what you're asking. You can write, absolutely. So when you take the course, you can answer the questions for a nonprofit and you can answer the questions for a for-profit, right? So yes, you can use the course to answer the questions based on what kind of, no matter what kind of business you have, because the course is good whether you are for-profit or nonprofit, right? Because the questions are the same. The questions are the same. I think that answers your question, right? I think that answers your question. Okay. Right. Jakisha, somebody gives Jakisha some love. Jakisha was like, look, I need free money. I'm tired of the loans. I'm tired of bootstrapping. I'm tired of asking family and friends for money. I'm tired of looking in my pocketbook. I'm old school, so I call it a pocketbook. You could call it a handbag or a purse. I still call it a pocketbook. Look in your pocketbook, right, for money that's not there. She's ready. So let's give Jakisha some love, please. All right. So can you put the link in the chat for the progressive grant? So go to, remember I said all of you women sign up for helloalice.com, but the grant is not just for women. I want to be really clear about it. It's for any Black entrepreneur. So just Google progressive grant for Black entrepreneurs. Just Google that and the link will come up. And people, you have until tomorrow to apply to that progressive grant. They're giving multiple $25,000 grants to Black entrepreneurs so that you can get a new car to use in the service of your company. All right. Okay. So that deadline is tomorrow. I do not want you to miss it. I do not want you to miss it. All right. And we have, it's Kashila. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Everybody give Kashila some love, because Sheila said, you all are not leaving me behind. I am not being left behind. Oh, and did I not say that the course is tax deductible? The course is tax deductible, people. It's you can literally write it off as a tax exempt expense because it's an educational expense. And you do get a certificate at the end. You get a certificate of completion at the end, right? Jakisha is saying, I just opened a store. How do I condense my audience? I want to reel my whole product in. Think about, okay, so you opened a store. Tell me, is it an online store or a storefront or a brick and mortar? Because if it's a brick and mortar, I know there's a Main Street grant that's for anyone with a brick and mortar. It's called Main Street Grant. It may not be open right now, but I want everybody to put that on your radar screen. It's called Main Street Grant. But you have to tell me if it's online or if it's a brick and mortar. You condense your audience by the product that you serve. So I know a couple of, for example, I know a couple of multi-million-dollar Black-owned t-shirt companies. They're all online. They're all online. And so one t-shirt company is geared towards Black mommies, right? She's called Mahogany Mommies, multi-million-dollar t-shirt store. You may follow her because she has a huge Instagram following. So her messaging on her t-shirts are geared towards Black mommies. So it's all in the product, right? It's in what you offer and who you offer it to, right? It's in what you offer and who you offer it to. Because look, everybody can't be an Amazon that offers everything. So there's a saying that's called, there's riches in niches. there's riches and niches, right? It's called there's riches and niche. The more you niche down, the more you create that target population, the more successful you will be. Okay. I am on Walmart.com, Amazon, Gold's Gym, and LA Fitness, and I opened a store. So it sounds like, oh, you have a product from scratch and it's brick and mortar. It sounds like it's a fitness. If you're in Gold's Gym and LA Fitness, it sounds like it's a fitness store, or that you have something that deals with fitness, right? So you can actually create a niche, right? So you can have a product that's geared towards fitness, right? So let's say, I don't know what it is because I don't know what you have, but I'm doing this off the top of my head. Let's say you have a waist trimmer or waist trainer. I think it's called a waist trainer, waist trimmer, right? And so let's say that's your product. You could niche down and target your population at new mommies, right? New mommies that want to get rid of the extra material, right? That's around their midsection after they have babies, right? So that could be your target population, right? Even though anybody could buy it, right? But your commercials, right? How you target could be on new mommies, right? New mommies that want to get that midsection back to the way it was before they had the baby, right? So, and because you have a brick and mortar, look up, it's called Main Street Grant. I don't think it's open right now, but it could be. Okay, I created a water-based protein drink in liquid and powder form, right? So you have a protein drink. Like anybody could drink that. Whether you want to be healthy or not, you would still have use to drink to down a protein drink, right? Because it's protein. Everybody, doesn't matter if they're slim or not, needs protein, right? So think about who you want your target population to be, because that's very broad. It's great that you've carved out the fitness. Well, there you are, Jakeisha. There's your target population. There's your target population. That's it. All right. Do Walmart offer only grants to nonprofits? All of the organizations I know that received a Walmart grant was a nonprofit, but you need to ask, because I also know that Walmart, they do things a little differently. And I know that they've also given grants to churches before. So they're a little different. For all of you, if you're thinking about getting that community grant, that $5,000 Walmart community grant, you have to go through your Walmart manager. So befriend your local Walmart store manager. Befriend your local Walmart store manager, because that is the person that's deciding whether or not you get that $5,000 community grant. Jakeisha, that's fine. Send me an email. Oh, that's funny, Jakeisha. Everybody needs it. That's great, but I still want you to think about your niche. All right, so those are the questions in the Q&A. I'm going to go over to the webinar chat because I absolutely saw questions here. Yes, the course it does not expire. The coupon expires on Sunday. You have until Sunday. Now you can pay the $497. People pay it every day, but I certainly want you to get it for $247. If you can, and save some money. The recording will be sent at 7:00 p.m. and also tomorrow. I have your emails for the web designer referral, but I know I started to see quite a few questions in here. So let me just get to Janessa. You are correct. You are correct. The landscape has changed with the environment. Absolutely, it has. There was a time when there were no grants for for-profits. There were no grants for for-profits. Now there are plenty. Oh, and I promised you that I was going to put in the link to the webinar tonight at 7, right? So if you know anyone who wants to come to the live session tonight at 7, I'm putting in the link. All right, but let me just go back up because there are actually quite a few questions over here. And everyone who wants to stay, please stay, because this question may pertain to you. You might want to hear what the question is. Oh, yeah, so your LLC is out of Wyoming, right? So I want you to double check. Excuse me, I want you to double check, but I don't think it's required in Wyoming. I know about Wyoming because I have a client that's in Wyoming, so I'm very familiar with Wyoming. Janessa says, make sure you know the threshold for audited or reviewed financial statements difference is thousands of dollars. All right, so make sure you read. Yes, that's a very good point. So there are some grants that require an audited financial statement, or they will say audited or reviewed. A reviewed financial statement will cost you much less than an audited financial statement. So make sure you know what that grant application is asking for, but keep in mind, I don't want to say most, I would say it's about 50-50, the grant applications I've seen that require an audited financial statement versus ones that don't. I probably see more that don't require it, but if it does, you will need it. You will need it. How do you improve your chances of receiving a grant if you are a startup and this is your first time? Just review the whole webinar that we just had, and I gave you quite a few points. Quite a few pointers. Is really about how you answer those questions, right? How are you setting yourself aside? What is your background? Because you have to think like the funder. Like, you're a startup, you're not proven. Why should I give you money? But if you are starting a tutoring organization, you have 20 years as an educator, right? That's going to put you in a better place, right? Or if you have some experience, right, with whatever it is that you're starting up, right? So just really go through the webinar. You'll get the replay, and I answer that in a number of different ways. And Robert says, oh, this is excellent. This is excellent. I'm going to put this in here again, Robert, so that everybody can see this. Robert says, mission fuse vision and vision fuse mission. Absolutely. So if you don't have that mission statement, you need a mission statement. What impact will I make? Will my organization be relevant? Yes, the impact, that word, keep that word in the forefront of your mind as you are writing. Impact. And again, it does not matter. Some people think, oh, I have a bakery. I provide food. So what difference does it make? No, it's going to make a difference. You're going to make an impact with whatever product or program or service that you are providing, right? So keep that word in the forefront of your mind as you are writing. Impact, impact, impact. Okay. You need someone to update your site. That's fine. Now, when my web designer reaches, for everybody is still here, when my web designer reaches out to you, answer the email, please, because we're serious. So if you say you want help, we're here to give you help, right? We're here to give you help. So, and check your spam, because spam is just crazy right now. So many emails go to spam. So just, answer that email from myself and my web designer when we send it, because if you tell us you want help, we're here to give you help. Right. Okay. It's the same goal. Right. Exactly. That's how you get from a goal to a SMART goal. You use that data. Thank you. I think it's Jakisha. She says, listening to you, I'm so behind. This is overwhelming. This is priceless information. Thank you so much. Don't feel Don't feel like it's beyond you, okay? One step at a time, one step at a time. That's how the course is. So just so everyone knows the course, take it one lesson at a time, one lesson at a time, and get through it one lesson at a time. Like, you can do this. Budget, you need to know everything. Yes, on the budget. Itemize. You're letting them know how you're going to use their grant money. They want to know. All right, so I know I saw a couple of other questions. I think it's Kimya. They only giving like the first couple of letters. Submitted her first grant yesterday. Yes, yeah, don't be scared. You can do this. Okay, Janessa, many federal, state, and local grants, they often have a Q&A session before the grant is due. Not only do they have a Q&A session before the grant is due, but most of them will have a webinar that you can sit through. And keep in mind, if you are going after any federal, state, or local grant, they have to have a contact person. So there will be a contact person with typically an email address, right? I can say applying for federal funding is very meticulous and tedious with multiple application processes. Yes, so I would not advise you, if you are just beginning this grant writing process, not to go after federal grants. I'm going to ask you to please don't sleep on your local foundations. Once you start getting grant money locally, it will actually be easier for you to get grant money nationally. It's easier, right? Because they know that someone else has believed in your mission and they funded you. Please do not sleep on local foundations. Please, that is the easiest way to get money, is going through your local corporations and your local foundations, right? There's so much low-hanging fruit in your community, especially if you have a local foundation. Please find out whether or not you have local foundations. Getemail.io, I think someone was looking for that. That is the site that is going to give you those email addresses. I tell you, it is truly remarkable. Getemail.io is remarkable. It is remarkable. Okay. I tell you, I look for emails, people in Italy, it doesn't even matter. It does not matter. They will find those emails for you. Okay, excellent question. What about credit unions? Credit unions are more known for sponsorships. They're not really known for giving out grants. You want grants, go to your bank. Go to the bank. Credit unions, if you have an event where you need a sponsorship, then you go to the credit union. But banks, for sure. I'm scrolling back up because I saw some other questions and I don't want to pass any. Oh, just to let you know, Janessa, you reminded me of something about the federal, state, and local grants. If you are an MBE certified organization or WBE women, it's I think it's a women's-based enterprise, or women's business enterprise, minority business enterprise, or EDGE, where you are underrepresented community. I had this question yesterday, so I want to answer it for you, for everyone on here as well, because it's important. Most grants do not require those certifications. I would ask you to pursue those certifications because it's great to have them, but they become specifically important if you are going after contracts, like federal, state, local contracts where you're bidding. And also, sometimes I know in Ohio, if you become certified, the certifying organization, especially Ohio Department of Development, they can then recommend you for maybe other grants. So I'm all for getting certifications, but some people think you have to have them to get grant funding, and usually you don't. But I would absolutely recommend that you get them. Okay. But yes, federal funding is, you can go after it, but Don't overlook your local funding. Libraries will give you free accesses to definitely the Foundation Directory Online and maybe some other ones too. Banks don't want to give grants. That's just not true. I've gotten grants from banks before from my clients. It depends on who you're going to. It all depends on who you're speaking with, really. It depends on who you're speaking with. Bank of America and Wells Fargo, they were both sued several years ago. It was a discrimination lawsuit. So they literally both developed major endowments that are set aside to give back to the African American community. And a lot of it is in grant money. So it's all about who you speak to. So if you're going to the bank, is usually the vice president of like community investment or community affairs, something along those lines. So find the right person at the bank, okay? As I said before, credit unions, typically sponsorships. All right, I think I see a couple of more and then we will be done. All right, let's see. Deborah says Tide, the detergent Tide, which is founded by Procter & Gamble, gives grant money for location set up for those with alternative housing. Well, there you are. How can we find the progressive grant? Just Google it. Just Google progressive grant for Black entrepreneurs and it should come up. I just don't have the link right now. Rhonda, thank you. Rhonda, I believe is I can't see your full name. I believe you are a current student. Rhonda, yes. You get, so Rhonda already signed up because she was ready and she is giving it a glowing review. Thank you, Rhonda. So there's someone who's taking it. Oh, Sheila says, this is the best information ever. Thank you so much. Grants for renovation of building to Medical Arts Center for Infant and Maternal Mortality. So there is a lot of conversation right now and discussion about infant mortality rates, especially in the Black community. So that is a good area for you to search for grants. There's grant money available. There is an organization here in Cleveland, Ohio called Birthing Beautiful Babies. I actually think most of their money comes from grants, which is rare for a nonprofit, but I think most of their money comes from grants. Birthing Beautiful Babies. So I want you to Google that term, go on their page and scroll down to see who their sponsors are. And if they're national sponsors, like nationally located sponsors, go after them. And that's something you can do. Look at similar organizations' websites to see who's sponsoring them, to see who is giving them grant funding. And there's an opportunity for you right there to know exactly where to go, because you know that particular organization is giving funding and a similar organization as yours. So yes, go to Birthing Beautiful Babies. I think it's Birthing Beautiful Babies in Cleveland, Ohio. Go to their website and look and see who's funding them. All right. Rosetta, tell me what problem you're having signing up. Tell me what issues you're having signing up. Lifetime access, yes, you get so the course never expires. It never expires. Yes, you can apply, Natalie. Yes, you can. You will only have one sign in though. You have one username. So everybody that is buying the course, you will get 3 emails, right? One email will be a welcome email. The second email will be an email with your username and your password. And everybody give Rosetta some love. Rosetta signed up. Rosetta was serious. Hey, Rosetta, I will be seeing you soon. You'll get that email that will have you to sign up for the course. You'll need your username and your password. And then the third email will give you a link to the Facebook group. And once you hit the link to the Facebook group, then I will, or my team will let you into the Facebook group. Okay. That's difficult, Christina. You should not have two mission statements. You really need one mission statement. And it can be a combination of the two. If you only have one company, then you can have one mission statement, right? But you can have several value statements, right? What's called a value statement, but you really should have just the one mission statement, but it can encompass the health and wellness, the health and wellness and the spiritual component, right? So you need to think about how you want to combine those two missions. And if you join the course, drop them into the Facebook group and we'll help you combine those two missions into one. All right. Okay, I believe we are done. Let me just keep scrolling. I want to make sure. Desperately looking for construction renovation grants. It's just about looking in the right places. Don't worry about it, Rosie. We will correct that in a few minutes. That will be corrected. Okay, I think it's Kiara found it. The deadline I said is tomorrow. The deadline for that car is tomorrow. It is. You have to be a member of a credit union to receive sponsorship. No. Are there also grants for at-risk youth, convicted felons, and recovering addicts that you know of? Yes, there's millions of dollars worth of grants for all three of those areas. I have a trucking company, but I can't seem to find funding to purchase other trucks. That's about doing the grant search and where you are searching for funding. That also sounds like an investment. Remember I told you about the 37 angels? So all they do is invest in women's companies up to $150,000. This sounds like a really good plan for you to apply for some of their investment dollars, because that would be great. You have one truck, you need additional trucks. You're in a male-dominated industry, the trucking industry. They are automatically going to love that, right? So 37angels.com. 37angels.com. Natalie, yes, absolutely. 37angels.com. All right. We are done. Everybody, I want to thank you so much, because I know you could have been elsewhere. You could have spent your time elsewhere with me. I hope to see you in the Facebook group. I hope you join. I hope you allow me to help you. You'll have 3 days to get the 50% off. And hopefully I will be able to see you. If you need the 2 payments, you can take the 2 payments, certainly. But as I mentioned before, I want you to move your organization forward. I don't want this to be just another webinar that you take in all this information and you don't do anything with it, right? Even if it's little bitty steps, even if it's just one thing, like meet with the funder, that will make all the difference in the world. Like, place your organization in a better position next month. Don't be in the same position. But I hope that you allow me to help you. I thank you so much again. My name is Linda Peavy, and I am the owner of Lapav Consulting LLC and the founder of the grant writing course, Grant Writing for Non-Writers, Keys to Winning Grant Proposals. So thank you so much. For those of you who asked to send me a specific email, you can do that, including Alicia's last question. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a blessed and a safe evening and afternoon, and going into the weekend. Please be safe. Stay safe. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.